Imagine being a child, scared, hurt, and feeling like no one in the world is there for you. Now imagine walking into your schoolyard, hoping for a hero, and 27 bikers roar onto the scene, ready to protect you. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that's as shocking as it is heartwarming. It all began with a young girl, no older than 10, carrying a secret that weighed heavily on her small shoulders. Every day, she endured more than any child should have to, facing abuse at home that left both visible and invisible scars. On that particular day, the fear and pain became too much to bear, and she made a decision that took immense courage. With trembling hands and a heart full of hope, she approached a group she had never imagined could help her, bikers from the notorious Hells Angels motorcycle club. Her words were simple but profound: "Be my dad." In that moment, she was asking for safety, protection, and someone to stand up for her when she could not. She wasn't asking for toys, treats, or money. She was asking for love, guidance, and security, something every child deserves. The vulnerability of her plea struck a chord that crossed stereotypes and expectations. To anyone else, it might have seemed a desperate or even impossible request, but for her, it was a lifeline. She walked into a school that day carrying fear, anxiety, and the weight of unanswered questions. Her black eye was more than just a bruise. It was a symbol of neglect, helplessness, and the urgent need for someone to step in. Her courage lay not just in speaking out, but in trusting strangers to answer her call, to see her pain, and to act on it. The incident itself, simple in its telling, is layered with complex emotions: fear, hope, desperation, and the universal longing for protection. It reminds us that sometimes cries for help are quiet, indirect, and come from the most unexpected places, yet they deserve to be heard and answered with compassion. When most people hear the name Hells Angels, the first images that come to mind are motorcycles, leather jackets, and a reputation for living outside the rules of society. They are often seen as rebellious, dangerous, and intimidating figures from movies or news stories that make people uneasy. But that day, the world got a glimpse of a very different side of these bikers, a side rarely recognized or understood. When the girl's plea reached them, 27 members of the club showed up at her school, not to intimidate, not to make a scene, but to protect, support, and stand as her guardians. The sheer presence of these men and women on motorcycles sent a clear message: someone is watching over you, and someone will act when you need it most. Their arrival shattered expectations. Here were people society often labels as outlaws, yet they responded with compassion and courage. They took the girl's pain seriously, validating her feelings and demonstrating that protection can come from the most unexpected places. The contrast is striking. The very individuals who are stereotyped as threatening became symbols of safety, a living proof that heroism is not defined by appearance, past reputation, or social assumptions. They did not lecture or judge. They simply listened, arrived, and created a space where the girl could feel seen and valued. This moment challenges us to reconsider how we perceive others. It shows that kindness is not always found in traditional roles or professions. Sometimes, those with the roughest exteriors carry the biggest hearts. It also highlights the power of community, even unconventional communities, to step in when a vulnerable child reaches out for help. The Hells Angels in this story were more than bikers. They were protectors, proving that acts of love and courage can come from places we least expect. The moment the girl uttered the words, "Be my dad," it carried a weight that goes far beyond a simple plea. In those 4 words, there was vulnerability, desperation, and a longing that many adults can hardly imagine in a child. A black eye, bruised confidence, and a trembling voice spoke volumes about the emotional pain she had endured. But her request was not just about physical protection. It was about seeking connection, guidance, and love. It was a cry from a heart that had been hurt too many times, asking for a guardian to stand beside her, someone who could offer safety when the world seemed unsafe. The emotional resonance of her words lies in their raw honesty. Children do not mask their feelings. They express them in the most direct and innocent way, even when their situation is complex and overwhelming. This plea also reminds us how deeply human the need for care is. No matter our age, background, or circumstance, we all seek someone to rely on, someone who sees our pain and refuses to ignore it. The girl's courage to speak up despite fear is remarkable. She risked rejection, doubt, or indifference, yet she chose to hope that someone, anyone, would hear her and respond they did. The arrival of 27 bikers was not just a dramatic visual. It was an emotional affirmation that her voice mattered, that her pain was acknowledged, and that she was not alone. The emotional impact extends beyond the girl herself. Anyone witnessing this scene, classmates, teachers, even strangers reading or hearing about it, feels the powerful mixture of fear, relief, and hope. It reminds us that empathy can transform lives, and that even a small act of courage, like asking for help, can ripple outward, inspiring care, protection, and understanding in ways no one could predict. The response of the community to this extraordinary incident was immediate, powerful, and deeply moving. When the 27 Hells Angels arrived at the school, their presence created a ripple of shock, awe, and relief. Teachers, administrators, and staff, who were accustomed to handling routine challenges, suddenly witnessed a scene that was anything but ordinary. The schoolyard, usually filled with laughter, chatter, and the normal rhythm of a school day, transformed into a space of safety and protection. The bikers' arrival sent a clear signal, not just to the girl but to everyone present, that no one in their community should feel abandoned or vulnerable. Parents and classmates were equally affected. Witnessing the protective stance of these unconventional heroes challenged their assumptions and inspired a mix of emotions: surprise at the unexpected sight of bikers, admiration for their courage, and relief that a child in need was finally being supported. It became clear that community isn't just about neighbors or local authorities. It's about anyone willing to step up when someone is in danger. Even people outside the immediate situation, reading or hearing about the story later, felt the emotional impact, realizing that acts of protection and kindness can take many forms and come from unexpected sources. This response also highlights the importance of visibility and action. By showing up, the bikers not only protected the girl physically, but also validated her feelings emotionally. The community witnessed a powerful lesson. Sometimes the presence of caring individuals, no matter their appearance or reputation, is enough to shift an environment from fear to safety. It reminds us that communities are strongest when people, regardless of their background, are willing to act together to support those in need. In this story, the community's role was not passive. It was active, empathetic, and transformative, demonstrating how collective care can amplify the impact of courage and kindness. One of the most striking aspects of this story is how it challenges the stereotypes we hold about people and their capacity for compassion. The Hells Angels, often portrayed in media and popular culture as dangerous, rough, or even menacing, demonstrated that kindness and heroism can come from the most unexpected sources. Their willingness to respond to a vulnerable child's plea shows us that true character is revealed not by appearance, labels, or reputation, but by actions. It forces us to reconsider the assumptions we make about others and reminds us that everyone has the potential for empathy and courage. This story also offers a powerful lesson about compassion itself. Compassion isn't about grand gestures or accolades. It's about recognizing someone's pain and choosing to act. For the bikers, compassion meant showing up physically and emotionally, standing as protectors, and offering support when it was needed most. Their actions were not performative. They were genuine responses to a child's very real need. This teaches us that small acts of empathy, whether it's listening, offering guidance, or standing up for someone, can have a life-changing impact. Moreover, the story highlights the importance of breaking societal stereotypes that can limit our understanding of who is capable of good. It encourages us to look beyond preconceived notions and see the humanity in everyone, even those we might initially fear or mistrust. By responding with courage and care, the bikers became living proof that compassion can defy expectations, inspire others, and create hope in the most unlikely places. In a world where people are quick to judge, Their actions remind us that heroism and kindness are universal qualities that can emerge anywhere, often when we least expect them. This story is not just about a single girl or a group of bikers. It is a powerful reminder that each of us has the ability to make a difference when someone is in need. It challenges us to reflect on our own actions, our own willingness to step up, and the ways in which we respond to cries for help. The girl's courage to speak out, coupled with the biker's courage to act, creates a lesson that transcends this single event. Empathy requires both listening and action. Too often, we witness suffering, fear, or injustice, yet hesitate, unsure of how to help or thinking that someone else will intervene. This story shows that action matters, and that even one moment of courage can change a life. It also calls on us to recognize vulnerability wherever it appears. Children, strangers, friends, or even colleagues may carry invisible burdens, much like the girl with the black eye. Often, their cries are quiet or indirect, but that does not make them any less urgent. We are reminded that compassion is not passive. It is a choice to notice, to respond, and to protect those who cannot always protect themselves. The biker's unexpected role as guardians illustrates that heroism is not reserved for certain people or professions. It can emerge from anyone willing to act with courage, integrity, and heart. Finally, this story challenges us to cultivate a culture of care in our own communities. It urges us to reject judgment and stereotype, to extend kindness to the overlooked, and to understand that protecting and supporting others is a collective responsibility. By doing so, we create a world where children, and all vulnerable individuals, feel safe, seen, and valued. The lesson is clear: courage and compassion are contagious, and when we choose to act, we not only help those in need but inspire others to do the same. This story reminds us that heroes don't always wear capes, and strength doesn't always come in the form we expect. Sometimes it arrives on roaring motorcycles, sometimes it comes from a voice that is small, trembling, and full of hope, and sometimes it's the courage of ordinary people listening, showing up, standing up, that changes a life forever. Let us carry this lesson with us, to see the unseen, to hear the unheard, and to act with kindness and courage. Because when we do, we become the guardians, the heroes, and the hope that someone somewhere desperately needs.